How Beijing interprets Washington Venezuela shock power hegemony and the new Western Hemisphere order. The geopolitical calendar of the new year barely turned before Washington unleashed a move that reverberated far beyond Latin America. The capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro by US forces, executed by speed, secrecy, and overwhelming force, has triggered intense debate in China, where analysts view the operation not as an isolated intervention but as a strategic inflection point in American global posture. From Beijing's perspective, the incident is emblematic of a revived doctrine of hemispheric dominance, what Chinese commentators increasingly describe as a new Monroe Doctrine under a re-energized Trump era worldwide. In this framing, the United States is not merely responding to Venezuela's internal crisis, but reasserting unilateral authority over the Western Hemisphere while simultaneously sending a message to rival power, chief among them China and Russia. Chinese strategic thinkers have been quick to dismiss the notion that oil alone explains Washington's gamble. Venezuela's vast reserves are undeniable, yet analysts argue that energy access was already negotiable, even as Caracas signaled openness to renewed American investment. The United States chose coercion over commerce. According to leading Chinese foreign policy scholars, the symbolism of the operation outweighs its material gain. It reflects a deeply entrenched American mindset, one that views Latin America as a historical sphere of influence rather than a neutral geopolitical space. From this vantage point, the raid on Caracas is less about barrels of crude and more about restoring psychological and strategic primacy in a region where US authority has steadily eroded. Chinese commentary overwhelmingly situates Venezuela within a broader ideological struggle. Washington's discomfort with socialist government in its near abroad, echoing decades of hostility toward Cuba, remains a persistent theme, yet ideology alone does not explain the urgency of scale of the intervention. Beijing's growing footprint across Latin America has clearly altered the strategic calculus. Chinese loan infrastructure projects and long-term energy agreements. Many dominated and renminbi have woven Venezuela into China's economic and financial ecosystem. For US planners, these deepening engagement represents not just competition but a direct challenge to American leadership in its own backyard. The operation, Chinese analysts argue, therefore serves a dual purpose, neutralizing a defiant regional government and warning neighboring states Brazil, Colombia, Mexico against drifting too far into Beijing's orbit. In a final analysis, Chinese discourse treats Venezuela less as an end itself and more as mirror reflecting China's own vulnerability. The crisis exposes the fragility of overseas investment and volatility of energy crude security and the escalating costs of great power competition.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.